時をかける希望恐竜戦隊10連ジャー
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chojin Chumps. I'm one of your hosts,
Hey,
John.
I'm Jason.
That's my brother, Jay. Well, one of these days we'll get our intros down. And, well, today, this is, the two-parter straight back. We thought we were done. We were wrong. So, what are we covering today, Jay?
It is episode 9 and episode 10. Episode 9 being Run, Prince of the Eggs. And with a name like that, you know, we can only go up.
I wish.
But you ready? You just want to dive right in?
Yeah.
Because I have the perfect way to sum up this opening section that we're greeted with.
By all means,
So,
enlighten me.
you know, intro hits, we get the theme, 70 million years, yada yada, Zyurangers. And then we're greeted to what I can only describe as Waluigi driving the fuckmobile.
You...
Like, my God.
I did not picture him as Waluigi until you said that.
How did you not?
Because
he had the different colored nose, the cartoony must. Unless you were going Dick Dastardly, that is Waluigi.
Because the only thing I thought was, God damn it, it's the fucking flying car. And this whole episode was so odd. I didn't have time to do anything but absorb what was put in front of me. Like going to a buffet and loading yourself up on food and then realizing you don't know what half of this shit is. It's just too much to take in. And you know what? That's what this is. This is too much to take in. Because we begin, like I said, with the fucking flying car. And Waluigi's driving it. His name is Crockle.
Crockle, he has a maid who turns out to be his wife named Daisy, which I just want to say, Waluigi, Snake Daisy. There you go, people. Can I get an F in chat for Luigi?
Get cucked.
And so it's 3 people in the vehicle. You got Crockle, you got Daisy, and you got someone that's only called Prince for now.
Yeah. And they're flying through this undisclosed space, trying to get to Japan. And then we shift to Barza. And of course, Barza is doing the only thing he's good at, watering plants and singing about taking women into the forest. And then he grows his fucking gremlin ear again, right?
Ears back. the wait a minute. I feel a disturbance. Let me bust out my Yoda cosplay. His stupid giant ear so he can hear across space and time.
Yeah, and that's what it is. He hears and kind of sees something abnormal in the sky, and he's like, I gotta go tell Geki. That's the solution, not I'm a great sage, let me figure what this thing out is. That sentence got away from me. Not I'm a great sage, let's figure this out. Not, oh, you know, there might be something I have to do. No, just I should tell Geki. Fuck it, it's his problem.
You know, this is what made me realize that we don't have a Zordon character here, but we certainly have an Alpha 5.
Alpha was useful, though.
You know what? True.
He was useful. He was just annoying because all he would do was go, ay, 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 ay. This had that weird teddy bear for like an episode.
Apparently, I think I read a fun fact that was supposed to be like a reference to MASH.
Yeah.
Radar's teddy bear.
Yeah.
But either way.
Because, all those hip 90s kids wanted a MASH reference in their Sentai.
There you go, people. But, no, what's it called? Yeah, he's Alpha 5, but he's like the movie Alpha 5. The one that thought, let me go karate chop Ivan Ooze, and I'm sure that's going to solve things.
Tell me it didn't.
But when the moment he started listening to this, I was like, you know what? This is going to make perfect sense. It's going to be Barza's friend. But then it turns out he's just as clueless as normal, and he rushes off. And I'm like, okay, I'm nice to see you're getting all the character development we need, Barza.
Yeah, and in keeping with Waluigi-esque antics, the car fucking appears in someone's living room. Crockle comes out.
It pans. There's a little girl. She's getting home. It's her and her mother. and she's like, "Mom, can I get a snack?" And of course, it's like, "Go wash your hands." I don't want to wash my hands. Then, boom, here's a love bug in your car,
Wow.
in your living room, and then he emerges. Wow.
So yeah, and he introduced himself because of course they're freaked the fuck out. He is Crockle. He's an inventor. Daisy is his wife, and the young man is their master. And at that moment, fucking putties rush the house and attack the group. And the Rangers, within a few moments, come as well. And so we get straight off the bat a fight scene, and it's really cool.
Real quick, can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
I just want everyone to know, if you don't go and watch this episode, everyone uses the doorbell. They don't magically appear here.
Well, I mean, Crockle and them did.
Okay, yeah, Crockle and them, but like, there's a ringing at the doorbell. Someone rings the doorbell. Hey, go check who it is. Opens it. Boom, Putty rushes in. Things are getting crazy. There's the door. She goes, checks who it is again. This time, Mr. Ranger's like, "Hey, did someone just run in here?"
It was completely absurd.
I'm just like, you know what? I feel like, way to set the pace right from the get-go. Let's go. I'm in.
Yeah, and this was a really cool scene. I think the best part about these two episodes were the fight scenes, because you get like a track shot where they start from one point and pull the camera through in a straight line through, so you can see all the fighting that's happening with each individual ranger in different parts of the house. It's a tight space, made even tighter because there's a fucking love bug in the center of it. And there's constant motion in the fight. It's a slow progression through the house. It focuses on the individual rangers, and they're jumping over objects, they're fighting, and it just gives a sense of motion. It's almost like watching a Jackie Chan fight, in the sense of everything's moving and everything fits perfectly.
Honestly, because of how cartoony it is, I thought even less Jackie Chan and more Ninja Turtles live action. You remember when they're fighting in April's store? Like, it's just so goofy.
Time out. I want to go on record to say there is no fucking way I will remember anything about any Ninja Turtles live action. And that's all I have to say about that. So, in the middle of the fight, Dora Cockatrice appears, and he's just this fucking fat bird with scissors. He's a fat chicken with scissors, and I don't know what they were going for with that, except he uses the scissors to cut a hole in the wall where there's a portal, and he takes the children. So he takes the prince, and he takes Emiko. And they're in this woods, these enchanted woods, no one's around, and Bandora appears to fucking taunt them as she does. And here's where she reveals the plot of this episode. She wants to know where the eggs are. Bandora is apparently trying to get dino eggs. And these are like, apparently these kids know where they are. And when the prince refuses to let them, the fucking Dora Cockatrice, throws a fucking pair of scissors at them, and it just makes me happy.
Oh yeah, I just wrote in my notes, Dora Cockatrice tries to murder children.
Oh yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this. Dino eggs. Apparently she almost hunted them to extinction. These were sent off, and yeah, I'm just glossing over these. These were sent off into the ocean.
Well, because you're about to bring it up, right now is when they glosses back to the Rangers.
Yeah.
Who now they've gathered themselves again. They find out that these guys are the Apelo tribe, however you pronounce it. And they're informed, these people have like 2 dinosaur eggs. And yeah, like you were saying, Bandora apparently tried to hunt them to extinction, with May even saying there used to be so many of them. So apparently in this universe, fuck a meteor, Bandora came and cleaned shit out.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on a couple of things real quick. So let me finish summarizing this so we can talk about it. We find out that apparently to protect these eggs, they sent them out to sea, where it landed on the Pelo tribe's land.
It's just straight up Moses. Just okay, into the water, you'll survive.
Firstly, those fucking mustaches that all the chiefs had, those fake ass beards and mustaches, were hokey as fuck, and all I could think about was how ugly they were. But
Dude, all I could think about is how these chiefs of the 5 tribes all made sure to wear color codings just like the Rangers. I have a pink sash. I have a yellow sash.
I didn't even notice that. But yeah, and the guardian dinos task the tribe with guarding the eggs. Now, more importantly, when I saw this, my first thought is, okay, these are going to be a new power up. These are going to be new Zords. These are going to be something. What did you think about the thought of these 2 eggs being left in the world?
Like, I definitely had the conflicting ideas because, you know, dinosaurs just in general are kind of weird here because we don't see dinosaurs. We see guardian beasts, and they're the representations of the dinosaurs, but they've never been shown or said to be dinosaurs. You know what I mean?
Are you telling
And
me
so,
Dino Guardian T-Rex is not actually a T-Rex?
well, I mean, in the sense that, like, yeah, it's a Digimon. It's still a lizard. You know what I mean? We just put an AK on its back.
Yeah.
But a part of me was just generally wondering where I'm like, is this like a legitimate dinosaur or like a new Zord? Because the thing is, you've had other series. Dino Thunder was the big one, where literally they were hunting the dinosaur eggs, and if it hatches, a new Zord is in the world. Like now, but the thing is, I'm like, there is no other Zord, as far as I can remember, in this series that the Rangers actively get that merges and works with them aside from the Dragon Zord.
That
So
was
I'm
the
like,
one I thought about. My first thought was, one of these is going to be the Dragon Zord and used against them later. And it's going to be like, you failed, and now Bandora captured whatever.
Bandora captured the other one and they're Serpentera. Like, that's the thing. There's like 2 other Zords. And so I'm just like, unless it's going to be that, I have no idea what this was going to be. Which is both cool and just like, it left me curious more than anything.
So my initial thoughts were that I just was like, this isn't worth a 2-parter. That was my first thought. I'm like, what can they realistically gain from this? Because I don't see them getting any cool power-up. I didn't initially think that. I didn't think that it was going to be worth anything. So I'm like, this Magic MacGuffin is only here to try to set something up. And whatever it's set up better be good. And I have to believe, especially after watching the episodes, that the MacGuffin itself is what they were trying to set up. But yeah, I don't see this being worthwhile. And of all the 2-parters we've seen so far, this has definitely been the weakest. So we can go back to actually talking about it now. So it pans back to the kids. Emiko doesn't believe what's going on. And
yeah, you know what? It's worth noting that when they appeared in her living room, they called her a princess. So we had no idea how she ties into this. I assume she played a bigger role, as we will find out later. That is in fact not the case. But so as far as we know, this girl who is just kind of just dragged into this whole situation, of course she doesn't believe it. She's just very confused and upset that this is going on.
yeah, and then the most interesting thing about this is that the guardian beasts themselves task the Apello tribe to take care of the eggs. So it's not just the Zyurangers who talk to them. However, Bandora found out that the eggs were there and sent Gryffindor to attack. And so you see a giant Gryffindor just fucking shit up on the island. And I'm like, that's awesome. But then we immediately shift back to Emiko, who doesn't give 2 shits, and she just wants to go home. And it's kind of weird to me because I'm used to kids and these kinds of media, being interested in the fantasy, interested in the adventure. But so far, most of these kids have been so wrapped up in I want to go home or, what's in the box. And it's just so boring. Uh,
My
so
my theory is that they want you to sympathize with Bandora, and so here's some of the most annoying kids we can give you, so you can hate children alongside her.
yeah. The prince's name, by the way, is Prince Euro. Anyway, so it shifts back to the Rangers, and they're like, we gotta go find them. But the portals are invisible. The cockatrice likes to play tricks and uses the portals, so he has a bunch of invisible portals everywhere. And Cockle's like, I got you, fam, and brings out the ugliest glasses I've ever seen. A bunch of them that can let you see portals. Dan looks at it and immediately is like, that's ugly. And everyone, it was kind of funny to see them like,
Oh hell no!
it was kind of funny to see the group like poke fun at it. So, Geki got a red pair. Dan and May get complementary colors and look at each other and laugh. Even Goshi uh, seemed to enjoy it. And then they're on their way searching.
You go back to the kids now, and they're walking through the woods, no directions really, and then, you know, Emiko says, "Oh, I'm hungry," so
She's
of course,
super annoying.
yeah, and of course, immediately 2 seconds after she says that, "Hey, look, there's a restaurant there. Let's go grab a seat."
Have you ever seen Ratatouille?
Not willingly.
Yeah, so it's the same basic concept. They go to the restaurant. This dude comes out and greets them. They order food, so he brings out a cloche and he opens up, and there's fucking rats.
See,
And that's the plot of Ratatouille.
you went Ratatouille. I can only think of it when they're at the Chinese restaurant and all their food is rotted, disgusting. In this case, it's like, "Hey, little girl, rats."
And big surprise, it's Dora Cockatrice, and he like attacks him or something. I don't know. I just watched it, and
They literally just run away. We go back to the Rangers. They're searching for portals, and of
on
course,
their
they immediately.
bikes.
Oh yeah, they're riding through the city, wearing their dorky glasses, and they're like, "Hey, look, there's a portal, and it's on a building." So they Harry Potter that shit. They just drive straight through.
Yeah, so they get in the love bug stalls, and then it shifts back to the kids, and I think that's part of
It's
the
a
other
lot of
problem.
back and forth here.
Yeah, that's the other problem. In this one story, you're shifting back and forth. Literally, it feels like every scene. Uh, and so what ends up happening is it feels disjointed. You're never invested fully in one uh, plot. And so it reveals that the prince has a tail. Emiko gets captured, and Bandora reveals he's a monkey. And so here's what confused me. So were they originally monkeys and cursed to be human, or vice versa?
No, because you saw them picking the fruit as normal people. Because look, apparently his tribe originally, like, yeah, we first meet them on the island where they find the eggs, but apparently their job was to tend to the gods' fruits. And then Cockatrice, the monster here, had tricked them into eating the fruit. And as punishment, they were cursed to turn into monkeys. And realize when we say turn into monkeys, they have tails. That's about it.
Yeah, they're Super Saiyans.
Yeah, they're Super Saiyans, pretty much. They were given tails, and then they were dropped onto Dalos Island, where they had been until the egg showed up. That's their backstory, and it ties into the monster, which I like. But ultimately, yeah, I want to say they were humans because their punishment was being monkeys.
So, quick side note: the reason it's so important that they protect these eggs is because the guardian beast promised that if they did, they'd allow them back in the Garden of Eden, basically. Uh, so this is super important. But Emiko gets captured, and they hoist her up on a rope way up high, and Cockatrice is like, "I'm gonna cut it unless you tell me where it is." Uh, and he reveals the truth. At this point, I was like, I smell a two-parter. This isn't done. Uh,
What gave it away was the fact that there was still only 5 minutes left in the episode.
yeah, that literally was it. I looked at the time. I said, "There's only 5 minutes. This ain't done. Fuck me." But she gets cut down,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
because they told Bandora, and Bandora's like, "Fuck yeah, kill the girl."
yeah, and then they ran off to destroy the eggs. But Daiyujin, the Megazord, saves her, and then they fight the cockatrice. And basically, at the same time, they send Euro and Cockle to the island. Bandora is super excited at the prospect of destroying the eggs. And why does it still say Dora Cersei? That's not the right creature.
Because the
Dora,
Pudgy Pig will always be in your heart.
I really hope not. That's like asking for a clogged artery. So Dora Cockatrice, interesting enough, he teleports to fight, which can be used well. And he's just destroyed. There's nothing special about it. And then they head to Dalos Island and the Zords. That's the end of episode 9. Sounding about right to you?
Yeah, the only real cool thing worth saying is like they defeat him, but like when they went to go race to the island, they stayed in their Megazord, so you get that transition scenes of all the Zords running next to each other.
Yeah.
And that's them going to the island. That's only like the only cool part about the Zords, the beasts in this episode. Everything else was just kind of yeah, it happened.
So
But I will say I was
go on.
shocked and relieved because I was just like, huh. So they just kill him outright. Okay. No, that's fine. Give us a good monster. Let's really make this happen. And then yeah.
So I just want to point out a couple of things. One, normally by this time, our first episode usually takes us 45 minutes. And then we have to try to cram and condense the second episode into about 15 to 20 minutes. This time, this has given us so little to work with. It is only 25 minutes into our recording, not counting the fact that we have, discussions beforehand. So this might be a short episode, and if so, I'm sorry. But I'm also going to be sure to bullshit
I
even
should
more.
have gone all in on the Waluigi and the Fuckmobile bit. It was gold. It was there. I shied away. I apologize. I'll take this one.
It's okay. But from now on, it's your job to, whenever I say the word cockle, you're going to say wah. All right? Let's practice. Do it at home, guys. Cockle.
I'm
Wah.
just because you're my older brother, I can't do what you tell me to.
Okay, what if I say every time I say cockle, don't go wah.
Wow.
Cockle. Okay, so episode 10.
Is this filler content doing anything for you?
Episode 10, Monkeys No More. And I'm like, oh gee, I wonder if they saved the eggs, which I was kind of wrong. But
this was pretty much to be continued. Come back next time. Will Goku defeat Frieza? Will the universe end? Next episode. Frieza defeated.
yeah, and I was like, I hate when the title reveals that the issue is going to be taken care of. Like, do we as viewers, especially of older media, have to usually accept the fact that, Superman's always going to win. Batman's going to figure out what's going on. We know this. There's no actual danger for the people we love to watch. However, you have to suspend your belief in order to believe and enjoy these works, so that way you can believe the Rangers are actually in danger. And so to be told point blank in the title that that's not the case, I'm just like, thanks, guys.
In all fairness, maybe when it was in Japanese, it was something more conspicuous. Maybe it's just blunt English translation that just flat out throws out the title to us. I don't know, but it definitely kills your mood when... But you know what? In all fairness, it's a win and a loss today when it comes to this episode. So let's not be completely down on it.
I'm going to be down on it because I don't see the win. So I hope you point it out to me. So we start off uh
The
at the
eggs are
cave.
with Satan.
Kinda. So there's a cave where the eggs were being hidden. There's an angel statue outside of it. That was real weird because it was just generic angel. And Bandora finds it. So she's laughing, she's happy. They approach it, this pentagram basically made of crystals, and the henchmen are arguing over how to eat the eggs, boiled or fried. Uh, and as Bandora reaches it, it denies her. It's
Oh
just like
no,
boom.
no! She doesn't reach for it. She sends Booka back
Oh,
because
you're right. You're
the
right.
Bandora ain't taking no risk on herself. Hell no! That's why she brought those two.
Yeah, that's about all they're good for. And there's a barrier, and turns out you had to remove one of the crystal like marbles on top uh, to reach the eggs, but they can't do it for some reason. So at that point, everyone arrives on Dalos, Prince Euro, the Rangers, etc. And immediately his people come to check on him, and they're like, "Yay, we're okay. We hid in the forest." And then that was all that part is done, because they go to the cave, and immediately Bandora causes it to cave in, and she's like, "Fuck you guys, you're not gonna have the eggs," and then disappears. And understandably, Prince Euro is upset because he's like, they're gonna hatch and die in the cave. And I'm like, it's just a cave and you have Megazords. How can you not excavate this bullshit? But no. It's even more ridiculous. Please, Jay, explain to them how they have to go and get to it.
Yes, because eventually they ask Cockle, "Wow, like surely there must be another way into the cave." He thinks for a second. He's like, "Oh yes, there's the back way. However, you have to pass through the empty fields of bombs." The empty field of bombs? What the fuck kind of island are you running here?
Time out. And you know what? I'm gonna ruin the surprise. Because the empty field of bombs is not, in fact, an empty field of bombs.
Not minefields. It's not.
No, it is a Fallout style little group of savages who are these children with painted faces and like different outfits who are literally just chucking bombs at people.
Various bombs, because it's not like here's a stick of TNT, here's a grenade, here's a fucking missile, because why not?
Yeah, and so that's what they're going to have to face. Meanwhile, we go back to Bandora's palace, and Leprechaun is sassily crafting another Dora Cockatrice. Dora Cockatrice 2. But I kind of like it. I like the thought that they could improve upon it. They didn't really, but it was something they could have done.
This is one of those situations where I like the implications, but obviously in this context, because just imagine, like, how devastating is it if this really puts it into the context that these guys aren't going to run out of ammo anytime soon. Hell, between Bandora actively using her magic and Leprechaun and his machines, they can, not even needing new army, they can keep just rehashing what they have. And personally, I like to think the reason Leprechaun doesn't like to do it is because more of a, I'm an artist. I'm bored of this design.
Dude, I think
Like,
he hates his job.
It's the Kojima style where he's just like, I want to work on a project I want, and Bandora's like, nope, stay in the basement.
As anyone who's actually read Finster's backstory should know, that's probably for the best. He should stay in the basement. But yeah, Leprechaun like legit just tells her, she's like, "Oh, you're making it stronger, right?" And he's like, "Geez, will you shut up?" And
But out comes Dora Cockatrice 2.
mhm.
They really reinvented the name there. And he's given his mission by Bandora, just straight out, just first thing you must do is to trick the prince.
Yeah, so now we finally get the scene of the empty field of bombs where they're just running and the kids just chuck bombs at them. And I'm like, they're getting blown to shit, Like, it looks intense, but at the same time, it feels like padding. It feels like it's just more stuff to make this episode reach its 30-minute mark, honestly.
No, dude, you know what it was though, right? The whole
No.
purpose of this segment
Hmm.
is literally just to separate the kids from the Rangers. Like, that's all it's there for, because they need the prince alone so he can get duped. Like, that is legitimately, because when they get blown up, the explosions are happening. You're seeing the Rangers flipping across the screen. They all land and they're on the beach and they're like recovering and they're like, wait a minute, where are the kids?
You're right.
Like
Because
literally, that's the whole purpose. These guys are literally here for two reasons: to cause shit now and to cause shit later. Outside of those two reasons, they're never explained. Hell, they're throwing bombs and they're like, leave your weapons. We want your sword. We want your daggers.
is that what they were saying? I didn't even hear them say anything. I just saw explosions.
No, yeah, and so that's the thing. I'm like, I I think there's something more here, but fuck if I know. If y'all aren't gonna bother telling me, I'm not. This is like the Nintendo 64. This is like early Nintendo games where if you actually want to know the plot, you probably have to read it someplace else, because as of right now, I have no fucking idea with these guys. But either way, they get blown up. They get separated. The prince is by himself in the woods, and Amiko comes up like, "Hey, I found the cave." And the moment that happens, dude, what did you think?
I was like, that's the chicken. We know he can change shape. That's the chicken. What a weird ass power to also give him. Portals and changing shape and scissors. It's
And
like
illusions.
they threw shit on the wall and said, uh, whatever sticks, and that's what stuck.
Meanwhile, he goes. The real Amiko as is rescued by the Rangers, which I just found funny because she's literally just tied and gagged to a tree.
Yeah.
And she tells him like, "Oh no, the monster turned into me, went to the prince." And I will say, at least as predictable as it was, I like how clever this part felt, at least in the sense of like, "Hey, since I helped you, I deserve a reward, right? Can I have one of the crystal globes?" In which Prince Euro is like, "Yeah, here you go," and smashes it. Boom, cockatrice. And so I will say, at least the scene itself, I was like, okay, I didn't mind it. The situation overall was still dumb, but
At that point, the henchmen come to claim the eggs. And again, you get a really cool shot because the Rangers show up shortly after. And so you get another tracking shot where it's pulling through the cave. Again, close quarters, really quick, but you have Dan and Geki fighting Gryffindor. And Gryffindor just going to town. May and Boy are fighting the cockatrice. Um, and I think Goshi is too. So you just see this tracking shot as it pulls, and it gives it a sense of space. And then I'm gonna say about this fight. Fucking cockatrice sure packs some physical punches and like power for someone who's just using a pair of fucking scissors, and not even the correct way. He's not even trying to stab with it. He's like,
no, he only uses stabbing moves on children.
yeah. He other than that, he just opens and closes these giant garden shears. So he's doing well. Gryffindor is just straight up powerful and overwhelming them to the point where they transform. And at that point, they started playing the theme song. And I'm like, okay, so these bad guys are going to be wrapped up in like 2 minutes. And we're going to get the dramatic ending. And I wasn't too far off. Boy.
Well, they morph, but like Gryffindor giving no shits, just hops at them and keeps doing the damage.
Yeah. Boy gets Dora Cockatrice in an interesting way because he has the dual daggers. The Cockatrice blocks one by like catching it in his scissors, and then Boy just stabs him with the other one. Easy enough. Then of course Bandora makes the monster grow. The Zords are summoned. Now this was interesting. When they united the dinos, he said "Unite Dino Mission." I'm like, I've never heard them cry that before. Have you heard them say that?
Honestly, yeah, I pay attention because I'm like, Dino Mission. What? the hell is that? A part of me was just like, maybe I just misread it. Maybe I just kind of imagined it with something else. But no,
No,
yeah,
I caught
apparently,
it.
yeah, just Dino missions, and I was just confused. And I was just like, maybe like other things, they just had a change of heart about how they wanted to call something.
Yeah, I can see that. So they go into Beast Tank Dino Tinker. Uh, Easy enough, but then they go straight into the Megazord. So at this point, I'm like, why not just go straight into the Megazord? Why not go straight into Jujin instead of wasting time with the Tanker when you know you're going to transform in another 2 seconds anyway? Uh,
It's just reusing stock footage and killing time. Because I promise you, it's the exact same frame every time where there's the tank going and you just see the lightning come and hits in various spots. The Rangers are rattled inside of it, and then, we gotta turn into Daijujin. Like, it's just padding, which is such a shame because I want to see them legit handle something as Beast Tanker.
yeah.
I mean, like in Jetman, everything didn't automatically come down to the Megazord. Like, we saw them be active with their individual Zords. We saw them get like, oh, we're gonna handle it in the plane form. Like we got some variation there that's just not present here, which is a shame because compared to Jetman, these Zords are far more expressive and unique. And so it's just, yeah, it just happens. Turn into the Megazord, and
How many episodes are in this season?
I was about to say, in this podcast, Jonathan, 2. If you
Oh.
want to tackle a third, I got some bad news for you. 50. We got 50 episodes.
50. So we're a fifth of the way through. Uh,
Yes, easy fractions.
Easy fractions are easy. But we're a fifth of the way through, and it feels like we haven't set up these Rangers. We don't know them. We don't. Even their creatures are still basically, this is all padding. Why did it have to be a two-parter then? So I'm really hoping that when we get to like 25, these dino eggs are going to come back because they need to have set up something. Otherwise, this is a wasted episode.
Either way, we're not even at the dino eggs. Well, okay, we're going back to dino eggs
are.
because yeah, all this fighting is happening in the background. You get your giant monster fight. Meanwhile, it pans back to the ground level where they're running around. They're straight up Benny Hill with the eggs because you got the monsters running from the kids because apparently they're worried about the kids. When Waluigi appears, and he straight up just has guns on his
Wow.
on his little love bug. So he presses the button that shoots Bookbuck, Toddpat, and Grifforzor. And so now Euro catches the eggs. They start chasing him.
I also want to point out something.
Yeah.
Grifforzor has taken a Megazord blast like it was no shit. This little love bug was enough to make him not only drop the eggs, but like blow these fuckers up and cause them to run and shit. I think this is canon that the love bug is stronger than the Megazord.
No, I will say no. I will say this because it was less about him getting hurt. Because I took note of this, that the stance he took when they got blocked, he actively just went to a defensive stance, putting his sword forward as a shield. So, like, it's kind of like, I guess, compared to Megazord, where he did take the hit, he had to, like, guard this time. And I don't think, okay, you know what, maybe, yeah, if he had to guard, then Love Bug over Megazord. But, like, he took a stance that wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to let you have your way. The problem was Bookbuck was holding the box. And so that sent it flying.
Fair
But
enough.
either way, they're running, and then the fucking bombers are back.
Yeah, and it's
The
just a giant
bombers
game
show
of
up.
hot potato. There's nothing worth talking about.
There's a kaiju fight in the back.
Cockle is shooting them. They're throwing the eggs back and forth, and finally, the eggs go over the cliff into the sea. Now, here is some neat stuff. As the Megazord is fighting, you get a Mastodon shield, which I have never seen. Have you seen it previously?
The I think I have, but not in an episode. I've seen it in the toy sales, like legit when I've looked at, because Lord knows I want to buy myself a the Megazord collectors things, but yeah, they have them presented with the Mastodon as a shield there. But it's like it's cool. I don't ever recall seeing that in an episode though. But here it is. Yeah, it just happens, and I mean literally just happens because it's not like the sword where they have to summon it. It literally just appears in their hand.
Yeah, and then it shoots lasers from his eyes. And I'm like, you know what? This is neat. But they summon Godhorn and ends it, and they come to the beach for the eggs, but they can't find them, and Euro is sad.
Yeah, everyone's the whole clan. You just see them on the beach scanning around, but no, it's drifted to sea.
Yeah, and then, I mean, the Guardians appear, and they're like, you failed. And they're like, well, God's a selfish son of a bitch, goddamn him.
Dude, they failed twice. Like I love that. I love that the Guardian Beast called him out on that. Where it's like, you got tricked by the same monster. Dora Cockatrice tricked y'all twice.
But everyone,
y'all are fucking staying here.
yeah, and everyone was like, man, God's, I mean, you're not nice. And he's like, okay, you'll be back to human. So then it basically ends. They become humans. Euro digs Emiko and he turns her into a princess with magic, but just like clothes-wise. And then the eggs are just somewhere out there. That's it. The end.
Dude, I just want to point out though, like, because this whole time Miko was just there. When they show up, they're like, "Oh, princess," and you have no idea what's going on. She gets dragged into it. As I'm sitting there wondering, I'm like, "What? How does she tie in? Where does she?" Because I assume, like, even if she doesn't believe him or no, like, oh, maybe she was like a secret princess that they didn't tell her. I mean, they kept her hidden from Bandora. I mean,
Dude,
I have all these thoughts going on. No, legit, it's just Euro's just like, you're so pretty, and I wanted to make you my princess. But here, I'll transform you into a princess by giving you these clothes. Bye. They fly off to their homeland. But yeah, no, like legit. After everything's said and done, she's just a little girl that Waluigi parked in her living room and she got kidnapped for like a day.
yeah. Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's the long and short of it. That's the end of this episode. It's hard to feel like it was worth anything. Now, we're only a fifth of the way through, so I'm going to go ahead and say this very tentatively. But as of right now, I am disappointed in what I'm seeing of Zyurangers. I loved Jetman. I loved Mighty Morphin. Here, it feels like this isn't doing enough. It's just, it's a cock tease. It's like, hey, this has a lot of good stuff.
Tease.
It's a cockatrice tease. Here's all this good stuff, but you can't orgasm from it. And it's like, man, what's the point? What's the point when all I'm gonna have to fall back on is a fucking Dora Cockatrice 2?
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah. And that's how I feel thus far. Hopefully, my opinion of it changes, you know?
You know, coming this far in, there's a lot of good that they definitely were just like, hey, we can improve upon these things from Jetman. Because my god, dude, the fighting is so much better here. I actively enjoy the combat and the villains. I enjoy them. Like, there's so many enjoyable characters, but it's like we're not going to choose to focus on the enjoyable characters or try and make our Rangers enjoyable characters. As of this point, my favorite people are Bandora and Grifforzor, because Grifforzor is such an awesome titan of a monster, and Bandora is just such a joy to have on screen. And I think what's even worse is, like, this series has done a better job of making me like Book Buck and Tot Pat more than they did of making me like the Rangers more. Because like you said, I don't know these guys. At this point, I feel like it's just call and response. You know what I mean? You know what this is? You know what these Rangers are?
Mhm.
They're just the cashiers at the store you frequent the most. You're gonna recognize them. You're gonna recognize their service. But at the end of the day, are you gonna know them? No. Do you feel the need to know them? No. But like that's just what this is. Like I'm like they're doing their jobs, and I guess that's good. But outside of that, besides Geki being the leader, I don't know what I'm supposed to be getting from this.
I wanted to share something with you. So, 10 episodes into Jetman, the first 3 were setting up the team. Well, the first 2 were setting up the team, and then the third was them trying to come together. Episode 4 was a character one, the Fighting Bride. So it was about what's her name? Kyōryū.
Yeah, there it is.
Episode 5 was Fall for Me, which I believe was starting to set up the love triangle between Kyōryū Guy and Ryu. 6 was Get Angry Robo. I believe that was when we first saw the Megazord. 7, 8, and 9, 7, 8, 9, and 10 were all Monster of the Day, but they were enjoyable Monsters of the Day. They were Cup Noodles. They were the Diamond one. They were Ryu's fucking marriage, you know? So, already, at the same length, you've had more character development and greater, more enjoyable monsters. And that's a problem. Because like I told you, I thought the true competition wasn't going to be between Mighty Morphin and Jetman. I mean, Mighty Morphin and Zyuranger, but rather it's a comparison between Jetman and Zyurangers, and it's not holding up the way I would expect.
Like it's what's interesting is because I feel like after Jetman, which Jetman was far more mature than this was.
Yeah.
You can very much see a shift in this tone of this series, and the fact that it is very clear that they're going after the children. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want children to be a more active part. They want children to be the audience. Because, like you said, in the last one, we had love triangles. We had so much like heavier stuff, heavier themes going on. And so this one, when you do compare it to Power Rangers, they're both just as kiddie. They're both just as childish about things. However, because they couldn't use so much footage, they filled it with actual Ranger time. So it's like, hey, here's Jason and Billy talking about this. And then comes in the Pudgy Pig. They reuse those scenes, and then you get the Rangers at the base talking about what are we supposed to do, Zordon? He ate our stuff. I mean, because they had to slice in the Ranger stuff, I felt so much more closer to the Power Rangers than I have with these guys. And it feels like just because they're like, oh no, we're just going to use, we have everything, we're going to show you everything, but that everything lacks substance.
Yeah, it's underused. Barza could be so much more. He's a great sage. Make him a great sage. That in and of itself could bring more characteristics to both him. Characterization, that's what I mean to say. Characterization to both him and the Rangers as they need help. You know what I mean? It's not just, hey, I opened the book and this is what it is. Let's figure stuff out. It's just the best developed characters are Pandora and her crew, and even then, it's just not enough of them. So what did you think of the monster of today?
You know,
Combine them. Go ahead and use 1 and 2.
So Cockatrice 3. No, it was like when I took a step back, I was like, there's a lot I can appreciate. Like I like how it's a monster that specifically ties in to the subplot, which that's something I kind of like. Where it's just like, not a lot of these monsters are just like pulled from legends or like already have a history with the Rangers, or at least their clans. Like Cockatrice specifically had cost Prince Euro and his people, you know what I mean, their garden before. So I'm like, that's kind of cool. And even like his powers are cool. But like you said, at a certain point, they just threw stuff at. They just threw stuff and see what's gonna ruffle some feathers.
Hmm.
Sorry. And actually wrote that down. I'm like, it looked dopey and it looked like a mix of ideas. And it's so weird because the cockatrice in legends and like actual stories and folklores, hell, I was just reading a series and he had to fight a cockatrice and he was concerned about being turned to stone.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's like legitimate things you could have done with this. I don't know where this idea came from, except for, hey, we need a monster to have this powers. Screw it, let's make it a cockatrice.
Yeah, and that's part of my problem. The design was very patchwork. The powers, while powerful in theory, never really mattered to the never really mattered because they didn't fight him really. It was all about getting the eggs and stopping the eggs and everything. And when you finally did fight him, he got stabbed, he turned into a giant, he got destroyed. The end.
Twice.
Twice, yeah. Did he go giant twice?
Yeah, they destroyed him with the God Horn the first time, and then the second time,
So yeah.
same deal.
So yeah. And at that point, part of me is like, you're kind of an F. I wanted to put you on the level of Dora Goblin, Dora Minotaur, which is E, but at the same time, those at least, while not unique in design, their powers at least functioned to cause the Rangers issues, and that the Rangers had to deal with. The cockatrices only push forward the plot, and the plot was lackluster.
Definitely, because like, I'll be honest, I put him as an E, but the more we talk about it, the more I realize you're right. He just doesn't
Do anything.
He shouldn't be an E. He very much, because just like, and here's the big problem I'm having with the monsters in this series in particular, is that they have cool powers, they can do good damage, but literally they are just not an actual threat. Like, once they could see Dora Goblin, he wasn't a threat anymore. And once they could get their hands on Cockatrice, they just whooped his ass. There's literally, like, at no point do you feel like, oh no, we're going to lose this. I haven't felt like that since Dora Sphinx, who he used his powers in a manner that demanded you obey the powers. You couldn't break from them. Well, kind of. You could cheese it. But, like, at least they utilize that with him. His character as a whole was solid. This is just such a mess that I don't even think he is an E. I'd put him as an F.
Awesome. So,
but real quick though, I just want to say, or you know what? Do you want to sum up the episode real quick before?
Yeah, sure. I'll sum up the episode. Wow.
Well, because I know you said, like, I said this was like a win and a loss situation, and you said I had to point out how. And the reason I said it's a win and a loss is because it's a win because Euro got to go home. Him and his people got to go home. But it's a loss because, for all purposes, the Rangers failed. They didn't save the eggs. Hell, the only reason they got out is because everyone was just like, hey, God, don't be a dick. And God was just like, yeah, okay. And so, on that note, it just leaves such a mixed feeling because it's like, I get it. They get that uplifting moment of like, oh no, they do get to go home. But this was a loss, and it didn't feel like a loss.
You know,
and that's what's upsetting in a lot of ways to me.
I'm going to agree with you on that because the Rangers losing should be significant. Whenever the Rangers do lose, it's a heavy feeling because you know the fate of the world is in the balance. Here they lost and I felt nothing about it. So I think this is definitely a weaker two-parter. I don't see the need for it.
And unless, like you said, unless it's specifically setting up oh, these eggs are going to mean something later on. But
Yeah.
honestly, the only way I can see it from a Ranger standpoint as it's still okay is that we lost. But hey, Bandora didn't win.
Yeah.
But that is just such a weak point to try and run off of.
So looking at our list, I've noticed a couple of things. So you have the top 3 slots: S rank, A rank, and B rank. What you basically have is a very tight grouping of theme and power. So Gryffindor, solid Manticore theme, super strong. The next
Solid
level,
Manticore theme that we didn't realize was a Manticore until here.
hey, he'll enroll you in his school of pain. He'll teach
Okay.
the class, and
Okay, no, yeah. If you want to go off of NSP, I'm always down to go off of NSP.
so yeah, Manticore themed, super strong. He is Bandora's chief enforcer. You have Dora Sphinx. His power super relevant to the plot, super strong. His theme was tight. He was a Sphinx. Enough said. Then you get to Dora Skeleton. Skeleton in a hat, not a bad design. His powers were enough to give the Rangers trouble. While they were fairly straightforward, they weren't.
They didn't muddy it with unneeded concepts.
Yeah. Then you have Dora Titan, a solid C. He's big. He's a gladiator. What more do you need?
Got the job done.
Yeah. He single-handedly kept the Rangers at bay for the first 2 episodes. Then you have the D rank, Dora Cersei. The concept is wonky. The power is enough. And that's all you really need. Then E, they deal with the power, but the monsters aren't anything great. You have a basic Minotaur, basic Goblin. Dora Cockatrice fails all of that, and that's why it's an F. So I think this, at the very least, this helps clarify to us what our scale looks like and how we judge it.
Yeah, it's because that's the thing. I'm, as opposed to you, am awfully forgiving. Like if there's something I can latch on that I can be like, you know what, you were dopey overall, but at least you gave me this moment. I'm pretty easy to run with it. But if you're just there and I spend half the time trying to make sense of you, and then ultimately you're just there to literally make sure the Rangers can't do this exactly at this time, then I'm like, you could have been replaced with something generic that at least wouldn't make me think why. Because say what you will about Dora Titan and Dora Minotaur, they're bare bones basic, but literally they were just there to make sure the Rangers couldn't do something, just to add a distraction. But at least they did it competently enough that
They
I wasn't.
engaged the Rangers, and
Yeah.
that's the big thing.
Oh, and they actually not even just engaged the Rangers; they gave them a challenge. Dora Titan at that point, I mean, he was big, he was bad, and he only got taken down because they had unlocked their Megazords. But
Yeah.
that being said, he's the first giant monster. But Dora Minotaur, they were trying their best hand to hand. They couldn't do squat. It literally took them needing to power up and get their legendary weapons, and then bam. Like that, at those points, you felt like, okay, here's a challenge. Dora Cockatrice and Dora Goblin, again, the moment their gimmicks are up, the moment you can lay your hands on them, things de-escalated. There was nothing going on. Hell, Dora Cockatrice didn't barely even use his powers in his giant form, and you could have done so much with it because I'm like, it's fucking warping. You could have like easily taken him different places. You could have done so much here. It's lazy, and it's boring to sit through.
And I think that sums up episode 9 and 10. Kind of boring to sit through. Other than that, this is gonna be a short episode. Any other last thoughts?
You know what? I will say this because the Monster of the Days we didn't have him. It's good to see Grifforzor. I'm never going to be upset with seeing Grifforzor in action. Like that again, Bandora and Grifforzor, they're the two highlights for me. And with Bookabak and Totpat and actually Leprechaun with comic relief, Grifforzor is always going to be my favorite. And he wasn't there these last two, the Monster of the Days. I noticed it. I wanted him. That's the only saving grace here for me. Is just like we got to see Grifforzor go off some more.
Oh yeah. All right then. Do you have a quote for us?
You know, this quote just sums up these two episodes perfectly, I believe. And it's actually something you already touched on. You could probably guess what I'm about to say.
I think I know.
But so the quote of the day comes from a very fed up Leprechaun. And he says, "Geez, will you shut up? I'm just about done."
Yep. Good night, folks.
Yeah, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, or give a thumbs up on whatever platform you put this on. And we will see y'all next time.
Subscribe to our Twitter. Follow us on
at
Twitter.
Chojin Chumps.
All right. Night.
Peace.
冒険してカッパピア探検し